trying to get ahead of myself. I'm wishing it was later in the year and it was a little warmer out all the time. I'm Phil Horney. I think I know everybody here pretty much. Doesn't look like we have any new people here, so welcome. Appreciate you guys coming down for this meeting with Stephanie Reniker. It should be really interesting. As I mentioned in the last meeting, 2026 is a board election year, so if you are interested in being on the board and helping make decisions that shape the club, please visit this link and nominate yourself or someone else that you think might be good in one of the board positions for the election this year, and especially if you want to replace me. That's so untrue. Anyway, we have a bunch of upcoming events. This Saturday is the Bring Your Own Tree wiring and kind of advanced wiring workshop at the Crone. We will be there from 10 to 2. It's no charge, and we're going to talk about doing pre-planning for your trees before you start wiring. So looking at your tree critically and deciding how you're going to put the wire on before you even start putting wire. So that should be pretty good. Saturday the 4th of April is the first Saturday meetup at the Crone. If you've not done one of these, it's pretty fun. You bring a tree or two to work on, and you chat with people that walk around in the Crone and talk about bonsai and try and convince them to join the society, or at least take a beginner's class. The next meeting is April 16th. It's Bring Your Own Tree Critiques, which is a good time of year to look at your tree critically and decide what you want to see in your tree over the coming year. And it's also a good time to plan what you're going to do for the fall bonsai show. I know the fall show is 6 months away, but you've got to prep your trees and get them ready for the growing season so that come fall, your trees look great for the show. We got a lot of other things coming up. We've got some really good workshops and presenters. In May, we've got Jason Parrish coming. June is, of course, our summer picnic. July is Mark Fields. That should be pretty good. August, the White Elephant Sale, and September is Don Brown meeting and workshop. And then, of course, for the fall show, we already have Jennifer Price booked, which she's always knowledgeable and entertaining, so that'll be a good event to attend. So she will be doing demos at the Crone show. We are doing a member tree buy. We've got an opportunity to get some really nice Ficus philippinensis pre-bonsai in 8-inch pots for only 42 bucks. That's including shipping and everything. So if you'd like one, you can buy them online, and they'll be coming the week of April 6th. Yeah. I don't remember when their last birthday was. No. They're at least 5 years old. We do have the first, well actually it's the second bonsai beginners class on April 11th, and of course we always need helpers for that. The class is of course full because we do a great job with those classes and everybody really likes to come to those. And I haven't actually done any advertising for this yet, and already the first and second classes are almost full. So if you can help out, please scan this and come lend a hand to folks that are just getting started in bonsai. Plus you get to work on a tree that's not yours, so if you break something, it's, you know, it's okay. It's, yeah, definitely. Oh. The April workshop on Saturday the 18th will be an outing at Ammon Nursery. So we are going to take folks around and kind of go through nursery stock and give folks an idea of what to look for in nursery stock that would make good bonsai in the future. We're going to visit both Ammon Nursery in Burlington, Kentucky, and our friends from Reminiscent Herb Farm, and take a look at what they have and talk to them about ways in which to pick some good trees for bonsai. Like I said already, the Fall Bonsai Show is coming up, even though spring's not even here yet. It's only 6 months away. I've already got the posters ready. pretty much. There's still some changes that we'll be doing to them, but we're going to get this out sooner rather than later so folks can plan for coming to the show. The attendance last year was pretty lacking, I think mainly because there were so many other events and we didn't really do a great job of advertising. So hopefully getting this out early will help our attendance. And now we're going to talk about hardy bonsai pruning. Stephanie Renneker-Jansen is here today. She is one of the owners of Reminiscent Herb Farm with her husband Dick. They've been doing it since 1983. 83, yeah. If you've never been out to their nursery, they have probably 1,000 bonsai, and they are really super knowledgeable and will answer any kind of questions you have about bonsai or about plant species in general. Plus, they have a lot of species that you don't normally see at your normal garden centers. So definitely worth it. So Stephanie, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. All right, big hand for Stephanie.
So how's everybody doing and hating the weather? I did bring a few trees. I'm basically going to do a question and answer type of a situation and also discuss the pros and cons of doing different things. A lot of things have broken dormancy. I brought this particular pine. And this particular pine, the candles are really up and going. And if you ever have read Julian Adams' book, we're getting real close to we could not, if the pines are popping like this, we can't repot it now. And it'll look great. It'll look great for 6 to 10 months, and then it'll go through the winter. And then all of a sudden, these branches will be dead on you. And you won't be able to figure out, was it a bad winter? No, it wasn't a bad winter. You went ahead and repotted these when it was just a little too far gone. And there, you can try to use the mycelium. You can try to use the Micromax, which is a great, I don't know if I have ever talked about this before, but this is a great nutrient, and it's just for conifers and hardies. Whether it's deciduous or a conifer or a deciduous conifer, you can use it all, but it's not going to cure your problem if you jump in here and transplant something when it's not ready. That's our biggest problem that we run into. We think, oh, I can make it work, and look how great it looks. It's bouncing back, it's even getting new candles, everything's fine, but you don't see what happens until we get to the next spring. So what do we do this year? Well, if our wire has been on for a year, we take the wire off. We can take the wire off now. That's not too much working. If it hasn't had any wire for a while, and you took the wire off last year because you transplanted it 1.5 years, 2 years ago, then it's time to put wire back on. So you want to really evaluate what kind of state that your trees are in. I thought I had a beech, and I guess I didn't. Anything that's deciduous right now, and I get 1 million phone calls, oh, it's just showing a little teeny tiny bit of green. If it's already starting to show green, not even out like this, but just a little bit of green in there, we really, really can't be transplanting. Even though we have greenhouses, and we can protect things, and we can cover them, again, you're not going to see any problem this year, probably. But the problem that you're going to see is next year when they come out of the winter. So say you're good to go, your buds are tight, you do a complete transplant, and you take all of that old soil away, or you get it out of that nursery soil, and then you put it back outside, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to die. It cannot freeze. If I take this wire off and say I decide I'm going to be brave and wire it again, I can't let it freeze. That means no temperature below 33 degrees. And if they're calling for 34, you can almost bet they're going to go lower than that. So you want to always keep your trees, once they've been transplanted, if you've made that jump, especially if you're removing all of your soil. Even if you keep a little tiny, just a little tiny amount right at the crown of your root system, and you still have a little bit of soil in there, even if you haven't disturbed 100%, or say you're going to do something like Boone suggests, and you do half this year and half next year, or 2/3 this year and leave a third on, or do a quarter, you still cannot allow those trees, when you transplant and repot, to go ahead and freeze. I can't tell you that enough. Do not let them freeze. That's all I'm telling people. People call all the time. And one of the biggest things is, well, I transplanted it 2 weeks ago and we put it right back outside in the leaves. There's nothing you can do once you've done that. The damage has happened. And you just got to hope for the best at that point. But that's one of the biggest problems we have with transplanting, is that everybody jumps the gun. We've had 80-degree days. We've had 4 of them in the past 8 weeks. That's really warm. And so a lot of times, we haven't done a lot of transplanting out at the nursery. And we've kind of thrown our hands up because it's gone so far. It's really, really warm out there. Yes, it got cold, but it got really, really warm. And a lot of times we can't see what's going on. And 2 or 3 days ago, that was tight. And it just popped. Well, that means that popped weeks ago. And that sap's been running for a long time. So trying to get in there and transplant with the type of weather conditions that we have right now, it's better off that you're just giving it time, going ahead and doing your pruning. When you go to prune your conifers, you can do some pruning now. You can do wiring now. But what kind of trees are people getting ready to work on?
What about juniper?
Well, is it showing any new growth, or is it still tight?
It's still in its winter habitat. I don't think it's showing anything yet.
If it's not showing anything, junipers tend to be the very last things to break. I have been really surprised. Like I said, the Scots pine, those candles aren't moving at all. But I walked around and looked at all the pines 3-4 days ago before we got this cold, as we just came out of that heat. And the candles were definitely on the move. And I'm really surprised. That's why I brought this. This is one of those Brussels bonsai, say about 15 years ago, had all of these black pine, red pine hybrids. And you can tell that's not a black pine cone or a candle. This is a red pine candle. Even though that's not really red pine foliage. They had all of these that came in from Japan, and they just didn't realize what they had. They were calling them all black pine because when they shipped in, that's what they were. But all the red pines generally are your last to come out, and this thing is all popping. Now, it did get repotted last year, and we wired when we repotted it, but it's completely popped. And these candles are long. You could even, theoretically, could start cutting them. And that's what I'm going to do, because I want some really small needles in here this time. I let it go because I wired and I transplant. So I didn't do hard candle pruning last year. But it's already popping. So I can do my hard candle pruning this year and then pull needles. And that's what I'm planning on doing, is pulling needles like crazy. And you want to pull your needles after your candles have really started to open. After you've pruned your candles and cut them back, you can go half, you can go 2/3 of the way down. It's up to you. You really don't have to just snap the top off. You can go in deep with any pine this time of year when they start to shoot their candles out, and you'll be completely safe. But I'm just seeing a lot of this, so that means we have to reevaluate what we're going to do this year. And if any of our deciduous, this little hinoki cypress is a type of hinoki. It's called a valvanus. And I was really surprised. They all have new growth on them. And this is kept cold, but they all have all this little new growth. I was going to go ahead and I want to get this in a different pot real badly. But the only thing I could do with it at this point is slip pot it into something else, and that would be completely safe. It's not time to take these wires off, so I'm not going to dewire it this time of year. I'm going to leave the wire on. And maybe I'll just go ahead and cut the wire off as we get a little more into the fall. But you have to be very, very picky about what you're doing and how you're working on your trees. It's not just, this is the day I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do everything today. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that. They decide this is what we're going to do. You got to make sure your plant material is asleep. You've got to make sure you have a space to put them back in that is cold but not freezing. If you can put them in an attached garage and you put them down by the garage door, keep a thermometer down there for a couple days, but that is going to be the coldest spot that you've got that will be cold but not freezing. And right underneath that door, you'll get enough. You don't want to sit it right on it because, like I said, you don't want to freeze it, but at least you can keep it cold down there. And that's probably one of your best bets and one of your best places if you're going to do a repot, is to keep it in your garage. And then you have to play that bonsai shuffle because you have to take it out during the day and bring it in at night. If you don't take it out during the day, it's not going to get the advantage of the sunlight or the rain. And we do want it out there for that. We don't want to keep it holed up somewhere, but you got to keep it from freezing at night. And if we're going to have a lot of wind, remember what our wind chill factors are. So if we're getting a lot of wind, we're probably not going to move our new transplants out, because then you'll get a lot of burning. If it's deciduous, you're going to get a lot of burning on the edges. I was really impressed because Randy Bennett, when he was writing this particular book, this is his new book. It's great. It really is. But he actually does talk about wind burn on your bald cypress, and it's gonna hold true for the dawn redwoods as well, any of the deciduous conifers. So you've got to watch for wind burn. You've got to watch for wind burn when you do a transplant. If you haven't done a transplant and they're perfectly fine, you don't have to worry about them. But if you have just recently transplanted, even though you're watching your nighttime temperatures really closely, you need to make sure you're not sticking it out in the wind where it's 38 degrees out with 20-mile-an-hour winds. Then you got air that's blowing across it in the teens. And if it is a sustained wind like that, then you've got it in freezing temperatures and you're burning your tips, and it is going to affect your root system. Okay? I brought with me some different soils, and I know everybody has an idea about the soils. I brought Aki Blend, and you can get this already mixed, and it's a great blend. And I'm sure everybody doesn't want to handle this bag, but I'm gonna send this around like this so you can take a look at it. You can sift this so you have a Shohin and a medium size grain so that you can use it for both, or you can use it just the way that it is and you can use it for shohin. You just can't use this for a mame size. But this will give you an idea. And this is akadama, pumice, and lava. There's no organic matter in the Aki blend, and it's completely safe. And it works really well. The problem with any type of organic matter, if you're putting any pine back in there, you're going to eventually cause rotting in your roots. We tried using it. We had lots of people tell us ages ago that, oh yeah, you need to use pine in your blend, only use 10% or 15 or 20. Every tree we took out of there had root rot. Yeah, and it was obvious, and it was the pine. So we quit using pine quite some time ago. Get that out of there. This particular one, this is a nice blend, and it's sold this way. It's called Bonsai. That's the name that's on the front of the bag. But you will see this as a mix, and it does come out of Japan. And this is a real nice, very heavy. There's 3 different types of akadama in here. And 3 different firings is what they call it, just how long they keep it out in the heat. And it's easy. You can buy it like that, and then you don't have to work over it. And all you have to do is sift it and then decide if you want to keep a large grain or a small grain. Our all-purpose blend has a lot of big stuff in it, but it keeps everything rooting, and there's enough little stuff that helps those little fine hair roots. And so you can really do, I really love the Aki blend. That's my favorite. And I love the small grain for anything little. If it is shohin or below, I use that. And I've even put, well, this is in that blend. It still has the moss on because, of course, you know, you should always put some raw sphagnum on the top after you transplant. That will maintain humidity and a little bit of moisture. It doesn't make it soggy. It just maintains some humidity and moisture. Because this substrate that we're planting in, you have to remember that substrate doesn't hold water. No matter how much water you think akadama is holding, it's not holding diddly squat. But you can help that by using that stringy sphagnum moss. You can get it anywhere. It's at craft stores. You just don't want the preserved one. Generally comes in a big bag. And you can just soak it in water, and after you do your transplant, you just put it right around. And that's what we've done with most of ours. We try to have even the tropicals, it doesn't matter. If it gets transplanted into new bonsai soil, then we go ahead and put the moss on, just to help maintain and control that transplant shock. It does a great job, and it helps to maintain the humidity level, and then you're not having to sit it in water because bonsai do not draw water from the base. Keep it stringy and curly. Now, Dick and Mark Fields, they love chopping them up. I like keeping it stringy. I see where it tends to hold the moisture, and you can keep it nice and fluffy. I think so. And you know, Mark's theory is that you just let the birds pull it away. Well, if it's in nice big strings, they come down and take the whole thing for their nest. So it even works a little bit better for the birds. So it does work. I like the big stringy.
Well, I think it makes a little bit of difference as to what your goal is. If you're using it more as a finishing surface after you've repotted and you want to promote the
Then you want to chop it up.
growth of moss or something. If you do run it through a grater, you know, and then reduce it to smaller, it'll work better.
Then you have a nice clean
And
cover.
it's not as gross looking. If you're going to show a plant, you don't want it.
No, you don't want it on
like a
there.
bird's nest.
No, when we leave it whole, we want it to be gone within about 4 to 6 months of the transplant. All it is just for transplant. It's not there for any show. Yes, they tend to go ahead and grow some moss, and if you've had Kyoto moss in your greenhouses, you're going to have it everywhere. We have moss. You sneeze and somebody is growing moss. But this is not, it's not a cosmetic. There's nothing cosmetic about what we're using it for. We're just using it for maintaining that humidity level and maintaining some moisture so that it starts to root out those little hair roots. Because like I said, you really don't want to sit pines in water, but the water will run right through it. It was so funny. We were at Bill Valvanis' place up in New York, and Diane, his wife, she was so funny because she soaks everything down every day. She soaks all the pines. Everybody complains because it'll make the needles too long, but her point is if you're going to transplant and have them and keep them alive, you gotta soak them because they're going to be dry in a couple hours. And she's right. I mean, I've noticed, I noticed with this Hinoki Chamaecyparis, this Valvanis Chamaecyparis, you keep it nice and moist, it sure does perform well. But as soon as it dries out, as soon as you rinse it through, it's light as a feather. And with that one, just to try to get it to maintain some moisture, we'll leave it sit in a tray for a while. And then we dump it at the end of the day. But it's really hard to get moisture to hold in this stuff, especially after you transplant. And a lot of times people will transplant their pines and not think about how important it is to water. And everything's going along great. We hit May, and all of a sudden you start seeing browning. And that's just because that substrate was not staying wet enough. And there's nothing you can do to fix that. You can't come back and rewater your pines and hope everything's going to be fine. Because once you've damaged a branch, it's going to go. There's no saving it. And a lot of time it's just drying out. If you're going to transplant, you have to put it on a schedule and you have to be very religious about watering it and keeping an eye on it, picking it up, checking the weight. When people are purchasing, say, tropical this time of year, all I do is harp on true weight, true weight, true weight. Because as soon as people get it to their house, they think they can water once a week. House is dry, maintains the same temperature day and night, and they're going to suck the water out. And if they don't keep that moisture level in there, they're going to lose their new bonsai right away. And they will, and then they'll come back and say, okay, well, we're going to try it again, but we're going to do it this way this time. And I hate for people to have to try it again. I want them to be successful with their trees right off the bat. Because that's, you know, it's about how long they live, how long they're with you, how long they're with next people. This is not mine for the rest of my life. I'm only working this to the next person who gets it, even if it's something I want to keep in my repertoire as my tree. Sooner or later, my tree is going to outlive me, and it's got to go to the next person. And that's a great thing. That's what we want. The whole idea is that it moves on to that next generation. We want to get it to that 60 and 100-year age. We want to see somebody else enjoy it. A lot of these guys will say, well, none of my kids are going to take it. That's okay. When it's time for it to go, it's time for you to send them on. I thought it was great when Dave had his sale of his trees, because then passed them all on to somebody else. And now it's our job to keep them alive and keeping them thrive. They're not going to thrive if you don't follow through and watch what you're doing. So you want to invest your time and invest some knowledge in there, and always look for new knowledge, because that's how you're going to find where you get to where you want to go. I also brought some tools. And the reason I brought some tools is because I see people who think they have to invest a fortune in tools, and you don't, there's lots of things out there. 2 things you want to remember: keep them clean, keep them dry, and use your little tip pruning for a particular portion of your tree. Use your branch cutters, use your concave cutters. Don't take your butterfly scissors and try to go in there and cut something else. These I've had literally for 37 years. And when I went to and started with a gentleman, he got me these tools. And they're a little rough, but they're still around, they're still sharp. I've taken them to Menards twice to get them sharpened in all this time. And they hold up really, really well. Unfortunately, we can't buy these cheap anymore like we did 30-some years ago. But there are still good ones out there. And you can use them up for $15. You can't do anything else with them. Throw them away and go get a new one. Just keep them sharp and keep them clean. And we found out how wonderful it works with sanitizing gel. Works great on your tools. And it even helps to kind of sort of lubricate them. And then you don't have to use the rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol, I think, if you don't wipe it off and completely clean it off, it starts having a problem with the metal. But I have found, we tried the American Bonsai tool. They are not the very best steel. I wish they were. We went all in with American Bonsai. The carbon is still going to be better. It always is. And like I said, they can be around for 30+ years and hold their edge. They do very, very well. There are new good ones out there, and you can find them. But then you get really touchy if anybody touches your tools, which is perfectly fine in my book. I have everyone trained at the nursery. No one goes into my bag and tries to use my tools anymore. But that's what you want to do. You want to be very picky about your tools. It isn't just the scissors that are inside of the house, because you need to make sure that when you go to cut this new growth, you have a nice, sharp edge. And I brought this guy because he just exploded. And we still have some small leaves. But we need to get rid of all the big stuff. And you need to just get rid of it. And it almost feels like you're defoliating and coming back in here. I leave some small on because you need some for nutrient production, but they've elongated like this literally in 2 days. They look like there was almost nothing there yesterday, and now they've elongated like that. I don't know if anybody can see this, but see how nice and tight these nodes are? See how tight those are? And this just shot right out of it. And we're just getting a little bit of heat, a little bit of humidity, and it's just shooting it out. See there? Yeah. And it's got to come off. No matter how good you think it looks, you got to get rid of it. You got to get rid of all of this. You have to come in here and you have to remove it all. If you get down here and you still have a few little leaves and you don't have a long shoot, it's okay. Leave a couple little leaves.
You think you could stand on the other side?
Oh, sure. But you want to get rid of all of this. And I even kind of, if there's anything right now that's a little too long, that's a little woody, now's the time to do that, especially with the Korean hornbeams. I was going to bring the Korean hornbeam. I couldn't decide if I should bring the big one or the small one, but the biggest problem is the Korean hornbeams aren't out enough, and they really, you need to take it down to one leaf, and you start now, and you keep on going until at least the end of May. And it's a daily, feels like it's daily. It's not quite that bad, but at least it is once a week. And you've got to get those, big leaves off of the Korean hornbeam. And now's the time to do it. But you need to do that with your trident maples and any Japanese maples. But see, now's the time. I've got this little woody branch here, and it started reducing back, but it really needs to come back to there. And we can do it now because it's in full flush, and it's going to fill right back out again right away. If you do this midsummer, yeah, it's going to sit there with a stick, and then it's going to get too hot, and then it's going to burn. But we have all kinds of leeway that we can work with, that we can get rid of all this kind of stuff. And every time you prune, it tells the tree to send out new shoots and make them smaller. And it doesn't matter what kind it is. Japanese hornbeams, Korean hornbeams, any of the beeches, whether it's a European beech, Japanese beech, they all. The Japanese maples, any type. They all will put out new leaves if you get rid of these. And on the leaf, if you're just doing pruning because you want to get just some tiny leaves back in there, do you know what you do when you prune? You prune the stem of the leaf. You don't prune the stem or the little branch that has created. You prune the stem. By leaving a portion of that stem on, it does tell the tree to reproduce that leaf and to fill that leaf back in, and it's going to be a quarter of a size. You can reduce all your leaves on your trees just by going in and taking a huge harvest of the bigger leaves. We're not cutting the little leaves off, cutting the bigger leaves off and leaving the one little leaf behind. And that'll become the large leaf that you're going to cut off next week. But again, if I wanted to, I could take this all the way back. I'm not going to, because eventually that's going to be a part of the pad. But I could. This would be the time of the year to make that choice without it being detrimental.
How often can you trim the leaves back?
You can do this until May almost once a week. Sometimes I'll do a tree, it'll take me 2 or 3 days, and I just whack on it for 20 minutes and then come back the next day and do the same thing and just start getting rid of all of these leaves just to get rid of them so I can get some small leaves back in here. I have found that if you don't, it's just going to throw big leaves no matter what. Eventually, like you can see, the bulk of this tree has little stuff coming back in, but when you have the change of temperature like we've had, and we've had these errant 80-degree days, and this bouncing, and the rain with all of the gaseous nitrogen, that just pushes everything. So if you want to go ahead and get those off of there, you're going to be way ahead of the game. You want to leave some little stuff on, but you want to go ahead and prune your leaves off here. Just get all of that kind of stuff off. Because now is the time to do that. You can go through all of your trees, and if you prune all your trees right now, you will be amazed at the difference that tree will look and have in July, August, and September when you want to get them ready for the show. You're getting them ready for the show right now. And that's one thing that I learned, is that this pruning, this spring pruning, makes the world of difference with the way that they look the rest of the year. And even if I did, now this was transplanted last year, But even if I don't get to transplanting something, or it's a tree like the hornbeams that have been in there for a couple, 3 years, and they're not going to get transplanted this year, but you still have to do the pruning work on them. You still need to stop those branches from elongating. You still need to get rid of the branches that are too long, that don't have the nice tight little nose, and it happens to everybody. It always pops in there. And if you just get these off of here, and then, like I said, the next week, these will be covered in leaves, and then it'll heat up a little bit, and then it'll throw some big leaves. The little leaves that are coming back in will throw a big leaf. But if you get it all under control, you have nice small leaves. If your tree is this big, and it's supposed to mimic a tree in the forest, that big tree that you have should have little tiny leaves. It shouldn't have great big mature leaves on it. It needs to have little leaves. When you look at your tree, it should look as if it was a mature tree hundreds of miles away from you, hundreds of feet away from you, not miles, hundreds of feet away from you. But you want your leaves to be, you want that gradation in there. You want to be able to see a canopy. You want to see the development of the leaf. You want to be able to see your branches. You're not going to do that if you have these great, big, beautiful leaves. Get in there and cut your leaves off. And now's the time to do it. It's going to slow down putting out leaves after about May. When we start getting a whole lot of heat, you're going to see it slow down. You'll still go in and from time to time and you'll pull some leaves off or snip some leaves off, never pull. But you want to go ahead and you want to get it under control now, but also get it into a routine. So where it's replenishing its leaf and replenish the leaves, and it'll have a nice full shape to it, and then you can decide which way you want to go. You can go ahead and some people completely defoliate and then they wire. And then they start the leaf pruning. But you do want to prune your leaves and get them off of there as soon as you can when they start getting big like this. Any questions?
Is that advice particular to maples mostly, or
Anything deciduous.
Any deciduous?
Any deciduous. I've got this one dawn redwood, and it's about that tall. And it's a big hollow log with just a very small live vein. And it comes out every year, and it's great. It's wonderful. But I tried messing with pruning the leaves back last year, and I was amazed. I'm going to do it again when they emerge. I have found also that larch, that will really, really perform well if you start pruning your larch early. If you wait until you have all this big new growth, then you're not able to get it to come back in and to be tiny, but you got to stay on top. Pseudolarix, or Japanese larix, they're all the same. You need to start pruning right away.
Before it actually emerges fully, or
No, you have to let it come out. You have to let it pop out of there, and you've got to get the big stuff off so you can get some smaller stuff to come in behind it. And right now, I was amazed because some of my larix that are just still nestled in the ground with the leaves, they were all popped today. And considering 2 nights ago, we had another cold snap after a warm snap, I thought for sure they were emerging just a little bit. I thought, oh, these are going to fry. But they didn't. They were fine because the larix or the larch that we have up for sale at the nursery, of course, have been covered and protected when we go into these cold nights, and then we open them back up again and let them warm back up. You don't want to keep them covered after the temperatures start to rise. Yeah, uncover them just as soon as you can. This time of year, it's not only are you moving in and out, but you're covering and uncovering. And even though they've been in the same spot in the wind Nothing's been done to them. They already started to emerge, which was interesting, but they are a zone 4 plant. And we're not having zone 4 temperatures, that's for sure. We're having nice warm temperatures. So yeah, bald cypress, they're about the only ones I'm not seeing pop, and I haven't looked at the pond cypress recently. But I wasn't seeing any of the bald cypress in the baby houses that we have. I haven't seen them popping, and they're the only ones. They're nice and tight still. I think they're on a daylight type of a regimen, and some plant material is. They don't care about temperature, they care about length of day. And I'm thinking that bald cypress is like that, considering the temperatures that we've had. It should have popped them just like it's popped the dawn redwoods and everything else, but they're still a little tight. Anybody else?
I have a question, I guess. Do you put like any systemics on any of these plants?
We go back and forth with using systemics. There's one product, it's called Bayer Tree and Shrub, and we have used that. We use the Bayer Tree and Shrub on the tropicals, and Bayer Tree and Shrub, and usually I bring it with me. On the side of the pot, it's rated for containers. So legally, you can put them on your potted plants. You have to measure so you know how many gallons or quarts of soil you have and how it equates to the 4-inch or the 1-gallon plant that is on the side of the pot. You need to figure out what those dimensions are so you're putting the right amount on. That works really well. It happens to be a 12-month, so it's not, because it's a containerized thing, it's not going to be perfect for 12 months. And you will probably reapply after about 180 days, about 6 months. But if you apply it in the spring, you can get a good coverage until October or so, and then we start to get some freezes and we don't have a problem with the insects. Right now, I'm seeing out there, and I went to somebody's house, they have scale on their pines. I'm seeing scale on pines already. So, you know, and that's one thing you do want to use a systemic for, and you got to catch it at the right time, and you have to have the right product. Otherwise, you got to pick it up. With our bonsai, we can pick it off by hand, but when you have a big pine tree, you need to get the systemic on right away. You have to make sure whatever systemic that you're using, you test it on some kind of container if you're going with something that no one has ever used before for that particular problem, because you have to remember that this root system is horribly under stress and will be horribly under stress forever. So if you're pouring all different types of insecticides, you're going to burn your root system. So you've got to be really, really careful. That's why I'm saying that Bayer Tree and Shrub, it's a 12-month. It works, and it's meant to be used. It's been tested, and research has been done to use on containers, so you're much safer using something like that. If you have an absolute bug problem and you need to spray on, as far as fungus, I can tell you what fungicides to apply: Daconil, Mancozeb, and copper oleate. Copper oleate works as well as using the two, Daconil or Mancozeb, and it works, and it's not as caustic. I think it's a bonide product, and I think it has the name Captain Jack's on the bottle. That has nothing to do with Jack's Classic or Jack's Fertilizer Company. That's just a bonide, silly little image that they put on there. But that copper oleate works really, really well. Oxygenated copper is not going to burn the way copper sulfate will burn. Bordeaux mix will burn different plant material, and if you're treating for fungus, whether it's your juniper or your pines. Copper sulfate is pretty caustic. It's probably more caustic than mancozeb. And between daconil and mancozeb is going to be your most caustic of the fungicides. But if you've got juniper issues, you got to use something on them. Otherwise, it comes back. Same thing with pines. If you get some fungus in your pines, and you'll see the fungus, it'll appear down at the base of your needles. And Julian has all kinds of different spots that you can find it in. It's also going to be in the base and in the crux of your branches. That's where you're going to find your fungus in your pines, and that's where you need to spray. And you got to get a fungicide on there. Systemic fungicides do not work, no matter how much we want them to, because it's easy. They don't work. They just don't work well.
I found that bare tree and shrub was the only thing that got the scale off of my ficus.
That's right.
I mean, you cannot get it off in a minute.
No. Well, it's because of that really just smooth bark that they have. And it just, those little boogers, we love the bare tree and shrub. We use it for a lot of different things. Like I said, we'll use it for tropicals, we'll use it for hardies. We can, because it's rated all the way from a 1 quart plant all the way up to a 20 gallon. It tells you exactly how much you have to apply. Makes it easy. You can't beat it. Just have to remember that you have to soak the snot out of it. You water it in with your systemic. You put your systemic on, water it in, and then you cannot water it for about 72 hours. So you need to have it out of the wind and not out in bright, full sun where it's going to need to draw water a lot. Because when you put that on, if you keep watering it, it goes right on the floor, and then you lose it. But it works really well. Yeah. I brought this little red pine. This is one of Julian's red pines, just to let you know where I would cut these candles. These nice tall ones, which I cannot believe it looks like this. It's March, but we had 80 degrees. I'm going to cut these in half. But then I'm also going to go to some of these smaller ones, and I'm going to cut them in half too. I really want these to be much smaller. I want them to be much smaller. And the only way I'm going to get these needles small is to cut these candles. I'm just surprised they're out already this long that you actually have to cut them. I got to do all the ones on the one porch. I looked at it tonight and I thought, well, nuts.
Do you remove the candles this time of year, or do you remove them in June, July? Or do you say you cut them back, but if you've got 4 or 5, when do you prune the candles?
When they get long enough, you cut them back. Yeah. You don't wait.
Remove them.
I never, Dick will tell you, well, he just walked out, but we have been doing candle pruning at the nursery from the get-go. It doesn't matter if we've got a 5-foot whatever, whether it's a spruce or whether it's a pine, we've been cutting candles. We don't do a full removal. And you get great, small, nice needles. We have never found that you have to remove all the needles, and we don't. And it does work. This little guy was transplanted a year ago, and so I didn't do a whole lot of work on it. I didn't rewire it. I didn't do a whole lot of messing with the candles, just tipping the candles. Now this year, I'm going to hit all of these really hard, and they'll have little tiny needles that'll appear, and then I'll pull all of these long ones and get them the heck out of there. But it works. It's worked in the nursery for 40 years, and it works on the bonsai, so we don't remove them all.
And the Bear product, it comes in spray and ground.
It comes in a liquid and a granule. For the little stuff, we make it up in the liquid, and we actually use we'll use those ketchup bottles. You know how you can get the empty ketchup bottles in a pack of 6? And you have to use so many ounces per tree. So what we do is we condense it down, we mix it up, and then we give each one, after they're ready to go, we give each one a little ounce and let it sit and do it in the liquid. Now, some of the bigger stuff, we do use the powder because it just takes more time. You can spread that watering out over about a week because you're constantly watering on the powder. You're just making sure that the water's not running through the bottom. And for the larger plant material, for the larger pots, the dry tends to work better. You know, the liquid just runs through too fast and you cannot get the concentration that you need. So you got to kind of adjust to pot size. Even though both of them are rated to use small ones, we have just found over the years that the liquid works better on the small stuff. And I lost my train of thought, sorry. I was going to talk real quickly about Satsuki azaleas. And I meant to grab one and I didn't. But they're all in new growth. They're all popping new growth all over the place. Got to cut that off of there. And some of them have flower buds, so it's going to hurt physically. But the best thing that anybody ever told me to buy and read cover to cover was this particular book. If you like azaleas, it is a Japanese book, but it's in English. And there is, it just walks you through anything and everything that you have to do. And if you want your Satsuki azaleas to look good, you've got to prune the proper ways. You've got to feed at the proper time. Otherwise, it just isn't going to happen. And they have been doing this for generations. And this little book is great. And it's easy to find. It's on Amazon. We have it out at the nursery. But this is an easy book to find if anybody wants to take a picture of it so that you can get one and you like azaleas. I was really surprised. And it is where I learned that if you're going to grow azaleas, you've got to grow it in Kanuma. If you're going to grow and you want to keep them the small Shohin size, you got to use the small. So what does that mean? You have to transplant those suckers about every 2 years, max. You can't leave it sit because that Kanuma just melts. Sid?
Never mind, you answered my question.
Oh, okay. The Kanuma tends to melt anyway, even if you use the big stuff. And you might get one more year out of it, but it's gonna, when it does melt, you've got big clumps with air pockets in between them. That's why I like the smaller grain. I've got some Kanuma coming in from our, from the distributor that we're getting the Japanese akadama from this year. I'm not going to have a whole lot, but we'll break it down in bags and do gallons of it for anybody who's interested. But we do have the 2 sizes, just to let you know. I did bring some different pots. A lot of times we think we have to get either the best or the oldest or the most expensive pots to get really nice looking pots. And Dick's got them back there. There's a lot in production pots. Everybody loves the Tokonami terracotta pots, but they have priced themselves right through the moon. So there are other terracottas that have that same shape. The only thing that they don't have is that darker band on the lip. And that's, I mean, it's just as dense. It holds up through enough freezes and thaws. And we've got those back there. You don't have to buy the most expensive, and you can find now there's tons of things in production. And they have cloud feet, they look great, they do well. I've got some wire back there. I've got some more soil in bags back there. So it just kind of gives you a smattering of what we have out at the nursery. And I've got a lot of high impact plastic, and it does work. I can't get Dick to plant anything in ceramic, so I had to find high impact plastic, so he puts it in something that isn't a dog dish. We have a lot of things in dog dishes, or at least they look like dog dishes to me. And really, that's what I've got for you guys tonight. Go ahead.
What are your top 3 potting mistakes that you see people making?
Top 3 potting mistakes is that they either leave a great big chunk right under the trunk, and that turns to mush 2 or 3 years later. The other thing that they do is they rinse all of the soil off. They take a hose and they rinse it off. What do you think that does with your microorganism activity and your biome activity? It's gone. And you're always better to remove everything by hand, slough it off, and you've got to get the bulk of that soil out of there. That's what I see. People like to do the slip pop thing for 7-8 years and can't understand why their pines are starting to die. And it happens. You got to get that soil off of there. You just got to get it off at the right time.
Okay, that's 2.
Okay. The third one that kills me is people don't water. They call and they bring me plant material. Can you fix it? What can I do? Give it a burial. They bring junipers out and they're crunchy. Yes, junipers don't like to sit in water, but they still like a shower. During the growing season, we hit everything with a shower. But even on warm days, and right now, I hit everything with a shower. From time to time, everybody thinks, oh, we watered enough. I walk back in, and it's end of the day, and everything's super light. Got to water it again, even though they're junipers and they're pines. And that's what I find, that people just can't keep a conifer alive. They just want to underwater it, or they go to the other extreme because they had one and they let it dry out too quickly. Then they keep it soaking wet and it's dead faster because it's been sitting in water, or they bring it in the house. That's the other mistake everyone uses, is they bring it inside. It's okay to bring it in overnight or into the garage overnight, but get it right back outside. That's important. Anybody else? Okay.
What's a good time to repot you?
You've got generally between the 1st of February until quite possibly the second week of April. As long as that hasn't produced any new growth. If you start to see that light colored growth and we're pushing April, I would say that you need to hold off. We've gone a little too far. Probably. Yeah. Yeah, as long as you're doing it outside, you'll be fine. But I'm thinking this year, because of these spikes to the 80 degrees, we're not going to be able to do much of anything in April. I think our window is closing by the end of March for most plant material. I think the window has closed. We tried to push some things last year, and it was just, we didn't have quite this warm of a pockets in the winter, but things were too far gone to be trying to transplant in April. End of March was it. Safe, anyway. Yeah. Wish it wasn't, but it did. The winter kind of got it away from us. Did you want to say something, Richard? Oh.
Let your tree freeze after the repotting.
Yeah, that's a pet peeve, yeah. Because they're going to die, and you're not going to see them die. That's the problem. you won't realize what you did wrong. And people keep making the same mistake every year. They transplant, they do everything right, and then they go back outside and they walk away from them because it was easy. Well, I can't say that enough. Once you transplant, nothing can go below 34 degrees. That's your safe zone. If you're waiting until 33, that's probably, you're really pushing it. And in the middle of the night, it's going to 31 and you killed your plant. Or you did a ton of damage. Yeah. Can't let them freeze, no matter how much you want to. And no matter how many YouTubes that you saw said it was okay, or to even put it out to freeze. Nobody allows their new transplants to freeze. I know that Ryan Neal out at Mirai Bonsai, he has this wonderful, just scathing, absolutely scathing little YouTube-y thing on their library if you go to Mirai Bonsai. And he's just blasting people who allow their trees to freeze after they transplant. They did absolutely everything right and they would have had a great result. And instead, in a year's time, half the tree's dead and they don't know what's wrong. Underwatering after you transplant when you're dealing with conifers. That's going to cause it too. And he has another one. I thought Diane Valvanis was the only one who really pushed that, but he has a YouTube on Mirai Bonsai about not being diligent enough because the water just rushes right through. And you gotta water your new transplants for an entire year until they go to sleep for the winter. You gotta be really careful. Conifers they're enough to drive you insane. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me. And unfortunately, I wasn't going to wire or transplant or do anything in front of you guys because none of the plant material that we have is it safe to do a transplant on. Very few things. Just.
It says the Suzuki book author, is it Robert Callahan?
No.
Thank God, it's $187.
It's Shogo Wannabe, and he's one of the owners of this particular nursery. Okay. Yes. And I can't remember, I think it was Mark Fields who said, if you really want to do it, I kill all the Satsuki azaleas, you got to get this book. It's like, okay, I'm going to try it. I like flowers.
One of his books on there, on Suzuki,
Yes,
it's $187.
Yes, well, that's because it's out of print. But this is better than that. I've got that book. And the information in that is nothing like this book. This book, it's inexpensive, it's great. It gives you how-tos, what to do. I can sell this one and I have more back at the nursery. I get it, it's just a bonsai book company, and they're out of Oregon, I think. They're 35. Yeah. And it's great. It's sort of like a little.
I can't make myself cut my
I use a little cover to hold all kinds of stuff. Mine I write on all over the place. It's sort of like my Julian Adams book. I absolutely love this book. If you even want to think about pines, he's so much fun anyway, but this is a really, really great book. This book is wonderful. Right now, I do not have any for sale. I'm trying to twist his arm because he keeps telling me the postage is too expensive. I'm not sending you any. It's okay. I'll pass the cost on. And so we're kind of battling a little bit, but I'm going to get more books from Julia. If there's anything you have questions about, you want to take a look, let me know.
I'm gonna look at the candles.
Sure.
So these popper, or these are?
Yeah,
already
these I
growing.
haven't, they're just not quite long enough. The little ones on this guy were ridiculously long.
Okay.
This is not out of whack yet, but by tomorrow, some of these longer ones are going to need to
I
go.
have some that we got last fall when we did the Scott
Mm-hmm.
pine thing, and they still seem really. They're
Scots
long,
pines
but they're
are
tight.
real tight.
Yeah.
Didn't you
Okay.
guys get the Scots pine? Isn't
Yes.
that what you have? They're still real tight. There's one that's in the porch bonsai house, the cold house, and it is starting something, but
Yeah,
they're
about
pretty
that
tiny.
long, but they're really tight.
Yeah.
So,
No, they're
okay.
still
So you
really
just
tight.
Wait until they start to come up.
Yeah, you want to see them go at least get 50% larger, because what ends up happening, like with this one, you start to see actual needles.
Oh, okay. Yes.
See? And
Gotcha.
behind that little brack is your needle set.
Okay.
And so you want to generally get them before this. That's why I cut these others off. Because if you don't, your needle set is not quite as nice.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. And each pine has a different kind of candle set. So you've got to really that's why I love that pine book, because it really does cover all of them and talks about single flush and dual flush. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's great.